Hey folks, you're looking at the floorboard in my 2004 Porsche Cayenne. I picked this up about less than a year ago from my cousin. He bought it off a coworker. Thought it'd be nice for his parents to drive around. Well, they liked it quite a bit, but it's an old German car, and he was having a difficult time swallowing the maintenance required on an old German car, especially since he had no one near him who sprechen the Deutsch. Nobody spoke Porsche. So he just decided to get rid of it. It had some other problems, but one of the problems I noticed over time was that when it got cold, I was getting a lot of condensation on the inside of my windows. I knew from 40 years of automotive experience that meant I had a water leak. My first clue was when I figured out about the battery and pulled that front panel off that covers it below the seat, and I could see the rust around the front seat bracket bolts. I knew from all those years of experience that there was moisture in here, even though the car didn't smell and there were no other outward signs. So I've pulled the carpet and part of the dash and the center console and the sill panels and everything else required to get down to the point where I could actually see what was going on. It's the only way you're ever going to know. And I actually sat inside and watched. You can see the pad up here. That's an upper firewall pad. There's also a lower one, which I've removed. And I could watch the water dribble down the side of the floor, just a little tiny trail, and down here, and run across, and then fill up this area and soak its way back. When I pulled out that padding underneath this seat, which is really thick, it probably had at least a quart, if not closer to a half a gallon of water soaked into it. And you will never dry that out, ever in a million years, unless you pull that carpeting. Here's my old Pepper sitting out in the driveway that's needed gravel for about 10 years. Sitting out here in upstate New York in pollen season, so there's pollen and tree seeds and all kinds of junk all over it. Now, anybody that's researched the water leak issue has seen the videos by everybody and their fifth cousin about how to clean out the cowl drains, going up through the inner fender well and getting to the rubber stopper that plugs up the hole in that firewall drain. I did that, and in fact, I pulled the stupid rubber stopper out and threw it in the garbage. Classic case of German over-engineering. Serves no real purpose other than to do exactly what it ends up doing, which is collect a lot of crap. Damn birds. All those dozens of videos you can watch talk all about cleaning out those cowl drains. But there's a lot more to it. You can do all that work and still have water in your carpets. And I'm living proof. You can see I've already removed the hood shock and the cowl plenum cover. Like my whoopee cushion, it's doubling as windshield protector. Here's something you should deal with. Porsche puts these little foam rubber gaskets, seals, panels. I'm not sure exactly what that thing is supposed to do, but really what it ends up being is a crud catcher. I pulled this thing out, and there was a collection of tree seeds and pine needles and leaf matter and all kinds of garbage in there that you wouldn't believe. German over-engineering at its finest. Who needs all that? Because all it is a crap catcher. Get rid of it. I had all that stuff blown apart, and I was able to look, and even after I cleaned out the firewall drains, we still had water coming in. So I knew I was going to have to go deeper, and that's when I came out here, started looking around. I also looked in the Porsche parts catalog, and I was astounded to see that the firewall is manufactured with two huge openings in it. If you look behind the brake booster, you can see one of them right here. It's a separate metal cover with a rubber gasket on it. And I saw that and I thought, there is no way after 18 years that that thing is still going to be sealed. And I figured there was my problem. I ran water down over the windshield, and I looked and I watched, and I noted that a lot of the water was really coming down in the corner. So I started investigating even closer. Yeah, this is a cell phone video, sorry, but see all the shadows. When I started looking closer, I discovered that down in this corner where the side upper frame rail and fender reinforcement meets the firewall, there's a caulked seam in there, and there was a crack in the sealer. I'm not sure it's going to show up in the video. You can barely see it with the naked eye, but it's there, and I could see it from this angle. But when I moved my head around toward the center of the car and looked from there, I could see a huge crack in the seam sealer. Now, this is not mentioned anywhere that I have seen, save for one rather oblique mention by somebody who thought he had seen some kind of a factory tech bulletin on firewall leaks. So this problem is virtually unchronicled anywhere else, and that's why I decided to make this video. I went and watched that last video segment and was a little surprised to see that I actually could see the cracks. Now if you look right here, that's the hood release cable. Just to the left of that was the first crack that I could see. It's really hard to see clearly. It's very faint, but it looked like it was a little striated, and it's a white line on a black surface. There's no other way that could get there unless somebody reached in with something and scratched it. That's obviously not going to happen. So it obviously was a crack. And when I looked at the video, I could clearly see that right below the white numbers printed on the hood cable, you can see the big crack on the side. That's where my water was getting in. This can't be the only Cayenne with this problem. And no, this car's never been hit. Cars that have been hit have cracks and seams like you wouldn't believe. I know because I fixed them for 40 years. And you end up with water leaks in the craziest places you could imagine. But in this case, there's no explanation for it other than just age and the sealer drying out and splitting. So if you have a problem with your Cayenne and you clean out all your drains and you still have water getting in, don't think you're sunk, because you may have this exact same problem. Hope this helps out some fellow Porsche files. Keep the rubber side down, boys.